There we go. I'm going to be recording this session so that I can go ahead and upload it later on YouTube, and then I can send your professors the link to the YouTube video with closed captioning, so you can always go back and take a look and basically just refresh your memories on anything that we go over today. So, well, first of all, hello to Colorado, hello to Utah from cold and somewhat snowy Kansas today. I'm Cynthia Kane, and I am first and foremost your librarian liaison for the School of Library and Information Management. And I just want to give you all a big welcome, first of all, to LI801. Hope you're having a really good experience. I'm sure that you are. What we're going to be doing in this session is going over some of the basic information that you're going to need to do research, not only for LI801, but basically for all the classes that you have right now in your SLIM curriculum. So by the time we finish, you'll know how to get to our resources and services. You'll know what you have access to as distance education students through Emporia State. You will also have my contact information if you ever have any questions. And trust me, no question is too basic. Before we go any further, I do want to emphasize that you can always set up a research appointment with me through Zoom, basically the same technology that we're using now. I actually do quite a few Zoom online research appointments with students. And the great thing about that, as we're going to see in just a second, is that you can share your screen with me, I can share my screen with you, and sometimes through a Zoom research appointment, we can actually answer questions within maybe about 5 minutes that might take a lot longer if we're chatting on the phone or trying to play tag team through email. So definitely keep that in mind. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen with you. And you all should be seeing a very basic Google screen. Is that working for you all so far? Okay, I see nods of the heads. That's awesome. So the first thing I want to show you is actually a way to get to the library's web page, and I'm also going to give you information about an online research guide that I've written for the School of Library and Information Management. Basically, everything that I go over today is also covered in this online research guide. So if you ever just need quick help on how to find books, how to find articles, how to do interlibrary loan, you can always go back to this research guide, and I'm going to show you different ways of getting to that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to library.emporia.edu. That address, library.emporia.edu, is the fastest way to get to our library's webpage so that you can always go there and then do whatever it is that you need to do. Now, if you happen to be at the main Emporia State University webpage, www.emporia.edu, and if you were to scroll down to the bottom of the screen, there's a link for the libraries and archives at the bottom of each page for Emporia State University. So if you click on that link, that will also go ahead and open up our library's webpage. And finally, if you are already in Canvas for LI801 or for any of your other SLIM classes, at the left of the screen, once you're in your Canvas course, you're going to see a link that's labeled Library and Archives. And if you were to click on that link, you would get a prompt to enter, basically to open that link in another tab or another window of your browser. So if you're within Canvas, you can always get to the library's webpage that way as well. So basically, there's always more than one way to get back to where we need to be. Now, as we go along today, I'm going to go ahead and give you some tips and some hints for more effective searching when you're doing research and you're looking for information. So the first tip I can give you right away is I will always keep one extra tab on my browser open to the library's homepage. And then in my other tab, this is actually where I'm going to do my searching. And the reason I do that is from time to time, I may need to return to the library's homepage to check something such as, do we own a book? Do we have access to a journal article that's not readily available online? And if I do that, then I can always do that extra searching back in my extra tab for the library's homepage. Otherwise, I run the risk of losing my search, and trust me, nobody wants to do that. So I promised I was going to show you a research guide that I've written for library and information management. There's actually two ways of getting to this. One really easy way is at the library's webpage. If you click on research guides, and if you just type in SLIM. And when you do that, you're going to see a link for library and information management resources. The other way of getting to this research guide is just to go to libguides.emporia.edu/slim. So like I said, everything that we do today is actually contained in this online research guide, including quick access to some databases that I'm going to show you, how to do interlibrary loan, document delivery, and so forth. So I'm going to spend just a second on this page. Here you have my email address and my phone number, ckane1@emporia.edu. So now you know how to contact me. If you ever needed to call me and leave me a voicemail, you can just use 620-341-5480. So what I'm going to do is go through some of the tabs that we have on this research guide, and I'm actually going to go back and forth from there to our library's homepage because I want to give you just a very basic overview of how indeed you can start your research for SLIM classes, how to find books, how to find articles, and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my tab for starting your research. One thing you're going to find out pretty much right away in your SLIM curriculum, we have a wide variety of general and subject-specific databases for your research needs. We have quite a few that are listed over here on this side of the page, on the right side, that are a little bit more specific for library and information science. But in reality, as you start getting deeper into your curriculum, you may need to look for more databases beyond just those available in library and information science. So a quick example might be, if you are interested in public libraries and you wanted to delve a little bit more into sociological aspects of a user community or analyzing community needs, in that case, you might want to find a database that might deal more with sociology, a little bit more with social sciences, and we do have access to those as well. But what I want to do for today is just give you an overview of where you will need to start to find information from library and information science journals. So over here on the right side, I've actually listed several possibilities. You can go to any of these particular databases by just clicking directly on a link such as Library and Information Science Source. But the other thing you can do is when you're back at the library's homepage, you can click on a tab for databases, and then you can go into a subject listing category for Library and Information Science. And when you do that, that'll be another way that you can get to a variety of resources. And we have a lot more listed here than the ones I listed on my research guide. So, for example, if you're interested in children's literature or young adult literature, we have a database called Children's Literature Comprehensive Database, and that's really good for book reviews and suggested lesson plans and so forth if you're ever planning anything in terms of children's literature. And like I said, a lot of these that I have listed on our research guide, such as Library and Information Science Source, Library Literature and Information Science Full Text, and so forth, are listed on here as well. So you could go to something called Library and Information Science Source either here or back on the Starting Your Research tab. Either one will work. I'm going to go ahead and click on Library and Information Science Source. And I'm actually at home right now. I'm doing this for a very specific reason because I want to show you exactly what your screen is going to look like when you get ready to set up your search for information. You'll be prompted to enter your buzz-in username and your buzz-in password, just like you would if you were accessing your email or other services. And then I'm going to click on Login. And I am within library and information science source. So I'm going to use this one as an example for finding articles. And then after we do this, I'm going to show you another way that you can find articles that will work okay as well. But I tend to go directly to a subject-specific database when I know that I need to find peer-reviewed scholarly journal articles or other items of a like nature on a particular topic or a particular subject. So I told you I was going to give you sort of different tips as we go along. My tip here for better searching in any type of database, especially at the graduate level, is to go to an advanced search option whenever you have that available on a database. And most databases will give you something called advanced search. And you might think, okay, but I just want to start my research. Why would I want to do something in terms of an advanced search? Well, there are a lot of different filters that you can set up with an advanced search that will really help you narrow and focus a topic. So right now I'm searching for references to articles and hopefully the full text of journal articles on a specific topic. So when I scroll down here, I may want to say that I only want my search to be restricted to scholarly or peer-reviewed journals, so I can set up this limit here. Now, I'm going to bring your attention to something right on this page. You notice that I have a choice to limit my results just to the full text of articles. Don't do that right now, although it's very tempting to do so, because you might think, well, I just want to be able to read articles online. I don't want anything that isn't available in full text. The reason I'm going to caution you not to do that is that unless it is specified, few databases are 100% full text. So there's a very good chance in Library and Information Science Source, which is one of our better databases for your topic, there's a really good chance that you will find references to articles in this database that are not immediately available in full text within this database. However, those same articles may be available in full text in another database, or they may be available through a direct electronic periodical subscription that we have at the library. So if you only limited your results to full text, you're probably going to eliminate some potential very useful journal articles. So that's why I don't do that. But I do want to limit to scholarly peer-reviewed journals. I can limit specifically to academic journals if I wish. And as I go down here, again, I'm not necessarily going to limit to PDF, full text, or anything like that, but I am going to go back up here to the top of the screen. And at this point, this is where I'm going to set up some very specific parameters for searching for information. So this is going to be your start. If you have to do a research paper or find a research-based journal article on a topic of your choice. The first thing I'm going to do up here is set my limits to searching within the abstract or summary of the records that are in this database. And again, you might think, well, that's all very well and good, but why would I want to do that? The reason is that at this point, I'm going to be doing something called a keyword search. And a keyword search can be incredibly broad. So in other words, if I didn't limit my search at this point, if I just left that on select a field optional or even for all text fields, and if I type in something like academic libraries, public libraries, school libraries, the database is going to go out and it's going to look for those keywords anywhere in the title of an article, in the abstract of the article, in the full text of an article. And as a result, I will get a lot of results, but they're not actually going to be focused and specific for my information need. Whereas if I say that I want my keywords to be in the abstract of records in the database, that's where those keywords are going to be focused. So I have a better chance of finding something that's going to be a little bit more precise than if I were just searching anywhere in the record or in the full text of an article. Now when we start typing, I'm going to do a search on public libraries. And notice that I'm getting some suggested search terms like you do on Google. Sometimes I can use these to kind of brainstorm ideas if I'm not quite sure of keywords that I want to use. But something else you'll notice that I did here, was put the term of public libraries in double quotation marks, and you're probably going to be familiar with this if you've done any other searching in databases or in Google. The double quotation marks will actually force the database to search for that phrase, public libraries, as a phrase, again, rather than finding the word public in one place and finding the word libraries in another place. Again, another way of doing a little bit more precise searching. I'm interested in maybe programming when it comes to public libraries. So there's some different ways that I actually could put in my next search term. I could start typing in program. And you notice that I'm getting programming, programs and services, programs or services or interventions. And there's another way that I actually could do this type of searching. I could start typing in program again. And this time, I'm going to put an asterisk after the word program. That's a particular search technique that's known as truncation. Truncation can be used if you have the root word of something such as program, child, something like that. If you put an asterisk after that root word, then the database will know to go out and look for any words that have the variant ending. So in this particular case, if I did this, I would get results that would include the word program, programs, programming, anything like that. Now that is going to be kind of a broad search, but that is a way that I could actually sort of broaden my search a little bit. So that's just something to experiment with. We're probably going to get a lot of results with this, but I'm going to go ahead and search. And sure enough, I have over 636 results. Now the good thing about this though is, now that I have some results to work with, this is a reminder that I limited to scholarly peer-reviewed journals, and I limited specifically to a publication type of academic journals. But as I go down here, you can always go back and narrow a search a little bit more. So if, for example, I might at this point only want results from articles that were published in English, I can limit by that way as well. Another way that I can limit is, I actually haven't put in an audience here, because it looks like I'm going to pull up a lot of things dealing with youth programming, children's programming, adult programming. I can add another word here. And let's do adult. And notice I'm going to do that truncation again. We'll search 68. And also notice with this, I'm actually getting some things that might also refer to youth or young adult, because I added the word adult and I truncated that. That's actually not too bad a search. And what's interesting about this one is, I'm going to limit to English again. What is interesting about this search is that I'm getting a variety of results that will have the full text either as something called linked full text, which we'll come back to in just a second, or in the pure PDF full text. So if I click on this option for PDF full text, there it is. Really easy to read. I can save that. I can email this to myself. Now the other thing I can do in a lot of databases, including Library and Information Science Source, if you are using Google Drive for other shared documents or just saving things out there, sometimes what I do is I create a folder on Google Drive specifically for research that I'm doing, and then when I'm within a database such as this one, I can actually go ahead and save my results, including that PDF article, into Google Drive, and so I always have access to it. So there are a lot of different ways that you can actually make this search work for you. Another tip, it's very common because we're used to doing this when we're navigating in browsers. It's really common and tempting to click on the back button just to go back to our results in our search. Don't do that though when you're within a database. And the reason is that a database, the way that it works is we're actually logged in right now. If I were to click on the back button, even though it looks like I'm still logged in reality, the way things work on the back end of resources, it may say that it's actually timed me out or logged me out of my search or of my database. You probably have had that happen with different interfaces on browsers. I don't want to do that. So a way to avoid that is to click on the result list instead. And that keeps you within the database, and so it won't time you out. So I do have some really good possibilities up here. Let's go back up to, actually, record number 2. This is something I'm really interested in because I like to do yoga. Let's click on linked full text. Now in this case, the linked full text actually linked to an electronic periodical subscription that we have to the Journal of Library Administration. And so the screen is going to look a little bit different. You notice in this screen, I don't have that nice little list to the right that I had with my previous article to save to Google Drive or anything like that. So in this particular instance, my options would be, if I really wanted to print this out, I could, or I could download this particular article and then I could go ahead and then upload it to Google Drive or email it to myself. So don't be surprised if some of these results look a little bit different. And in this particular instance, since that opened in a new tab, we'll go back to our result list. So linked full text may not give you all the options in terms of saving to Google Drive and so forth that the straight PDF full text option may. And it's basically just a different way of accessing articles. So this is actually a pretty good search so far. I could scroll down. Got some really interesting options here. And you see a lot of these are available. I can go next. And we're going to pause at this point. Record number 13 is a little bit different. This is talking about libraries and human rights working together to reach our full potential. Notice something that's going on here. I don't have a nice little link to linked full text. I also don't have PDF full text. But when I click on the record for this particular article, I might read the abstract and I might say to myself, you know, I really would like to try to get a hold of this. This one sounds really interesting. Now, at this point, this is where we're going to go back to that original tab that I had open for the library's webpage. And remember, I said I always want to leave one extra tab open because I really don't want to navigate out of this and lose my search right now. So I want to see if we have access to this article. It looks like it almost be a chapter as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is highlight the title of the source, Advances in Librarianship. And notice I'm not highlighting the year or the volume. I'm just focusing right now on the title of the source. I'm going to copy this. And I'm really curious to see if our library actually has access to this particular resource in another way. So one way that I could check would be to go to Journals. And this tab is actually going to open up something called Browsing. This is another source that we subscribe to that provides access to other electronic journals and other databases or other electronic periodical subscriptions. And you can actually set up a free account if you want with Browsing, and that will help you save articles or actually save kind of a table of contents of journals if you want to browse in those. We're going to search. Okay, so you notice here I didn't get any matches for Advances in Librarianship. So we're going to click to search again. And I didn't find any results for that specific one. So in this particular instance, we're going to go back to the library's homepage. And now I'm going to go directly into the Discovery search. And the Discovery search is another thing that I cover in part of our guide for library and information management resources. If we go to finding books, I'm now going to go back into our discovery search because there's a chance that this one, Advances in Librarianship, might actually be a book, and this might be a chapter within a book. So I just kind of want to double check to see if I have exhausted all of my possibilities. So our discovery search will search not only titles of books, it will actually also search for articles. I'm going to show you something on that in just a second as well. So let's do Advances in Librarianship. Again, I just want to see what we have as a possibility. And the reason I did this is that I was actually just working with this title yesterday, so it was fresh in my mind. And this is a really good example to show you as distance education students. Advances in Librarianship, even though this says online access, it's really in our library only going to be available in print. So going back to our result list, this was a chapter in the 2016 volume, volume 41 of Advances in Librarianship. We have this in print, including volume 41, 2016. Now at this point, you could ask yourself very easily, that's great, Cynthia, but that's in print. But I'm in Colorado or I'm in Utah, and that really isn't going to do me any good. This is actually segueing very nicely into the next part of our guide, interlibrary loan and document delivery. So as distance education students, you are affiliated with ESU, and as a result, you have access to all of the resources and services that we offer for all students, including interlibrary loan and document delivery. So interlibrary loan can be used if you find a reference to a book or a reference to a journal article and it is not available anywhere in the Emporia campus library. It's not available in any of our electronic databases. It's not available in print. You can do an interlibrary loan request, which I'm going to show you in just a second, and you can ask that a copy of that book be borrowed from another library and mailed to you. You can also ask that an article that's owned by another library be scanned in PDF and then sent to you electronically to your emporia.edu address. However, if you find something like we did with this result, we have a book chapter from a book, you can also use our interlibrary loan option. And I'm going to go back home here, because that actually will refer to the second part of this, which is called document delivery. So with document delivery as distance education students, we can actually scan articles or certain chapters of books that are owned in print by the library, and we will send those to you to your campus email. And the way you do that is still go ahead and do the interlibrary loan link here on the library's webpage. You're going to enter your BuzzIn username and password. I'm actually going to re-enter my password because that may have stored an old password for me. I just want to make sure that that's the right one. And we'll log on. Now, if you've never done interlibrary loan before, you're going to get a screen right before this one that will actually ask you to enter your information, your e-number, your permanent address, your g.emporia.edu address, and so forth. You only have to do that one time. I've done a lot of interlibrary loans, so my screen just popped directly into this. So if you're looking for an article, if you need an article from a periodical, you would click on New Request under Article or Book. In this particular instance, this is actually a book chapter from Volume 16 of Advances in Librarianship, so I want to go to Book Chapter. And then this is where I could actually copy and paste my information, such as the title of the book, the chapter author, the chapter title. And under here, under Notes, this is where I would encourage you to make a note that you're a distance education student with ESU and that this is from a book or a periodical that is available in print in the library, and that will flag that request for us. So we'll say, okay, this is a distance education student, and they do need to have this information scanned and sent to them. So again, you can use this interlibrary loan option both for requesting items that are not owned specifically by the Emporia Campus Library, and also items that are owned by the Emporia Campus Library that are only available in print or perhaps in microfilm. So we'll scan that information, we'll get it to you right away so that you have that same access to information. So definitely make use of that. Let me know, though, if you have any difficulties or any questions about this option with interlibrary loan or document delivery, and I'd be happy to do some troubleshooting for you as well. So I'm going to go back over here to actually starting your research, because I've just kind of scratched the surface of various databases such as Library and Information Science Source. You may be required at some point to find an article from an encyclopedia called the Encyclopedia of Library and Information Sciences. I'm going to go ahead and click on this link. And this one is a little bit different from other databases. I'm going to let this load here. It's actually the PDF version of a number of volumes from the Encyclopedia of Library and Information Sciences. It looks like it's being kind of slow to load right now, so hopefully it'll load and then we can do some work with that. While that's loading, I'm going to give you kind of a heads up on this one. Since this is an encyclopedia, it doesn't really work like other databases. What it does is, it works best if you are searching for known items. So probably in some of your classes like LI804, LI810, and so forth, you may be asked at some point to find an article from the Encyclopedia of Library and Information Sciences. And if you are asked to do that, you can either go to this link here on the Starting Your Research part of our guide, or, as we've seen before, if you went back to the A to Z databases list, and you were already in the subject link for Library and Information Sciences, you can get to the encyclopedia that way. Still think of it as a database, and that's going to be the easiest way to get to it. We'll see if that, hopefully that's not going to freeze up. I'm afraid it might. Let's go to this. Okay, there we go. So what will happen in this particular instance is that in one or more of your SLIM classes, you might be required by your professor to find a specific article from this encyclopedia. It's really a very straightforward table of contents. So you can, if you want, this is really a very rudimentary way of searching for it. If you're searching for a specific article, do a Control F to find on your screen, and this is where you can actually type in the title of your article. So I'm going to type in acquisitions. I started to type that in, and we'll just say for the sake of argument, this is the one that I was looking for, demand-driven acquisition or patron-driven acquisition. There's no really good way of searching this encyclopedia. That's one of the frustrating parts. But then you can click on download, there we go. And then in the background, it will actually download the PDF of that article. And you'll be able to save that. So I just wanted to spend a little bit of time on that because we do get actually quite a few questions when students are asked to search in the Encyclopedia of Library and Information Sciences. So I just wanted to make sure you were comfortable with that. I'm going to go back over here, and actually back to this screen. On libraries and human rights. And that's where it's downloading in the background now. And that's where that was downloading in the background for that article from the encyclopedia. And you can see that I can just go ahead and I can save that to my desktop and then work with that. Let's go back over here though, because I wanted to go back to my result list in Library and Information Science, because there were a couple of other things I wanted to show you when you're working within a database, such as Library and Information Science Source. There is a link up here that says sign in. And the reason I wanted to show this to you is that this is something called an EBSCOhost account. EBSCOhost is the provider of many of our databases, including Library and Information Science Source. If you were to click on sign in and create a free EBSCOhost account, or you can sign in with Google, this can be an incredible time saver for you. So now I'm actually signed into my EBSCOhost account. And the reason I might want to do that is I can click on, you notice that I have something that looks a little bit different here. Within your EBSCOhost account, you can actually create different folders for different research projects or research papers that you're doing. And then as you're searching in EBSCOhost databases, such as Library and Information Science Source, you can wind up saving these articles to any of these folders.
Cynthia?
Correspond. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think you stopped sharing your screen there.
Oh dear, thank you very much.
No problem.
I was afraid that might happen, and I'm glad you stopped me at that. I did. Here we go. Brendan, thanks so much for telling me that, because I think that did that just happen, or had that been going on for a while?
I think it was just before you started the EBSCO piece.
Oh, okay, awesome. Okay, thank you very much. So people didn't, hopefully you didn't lose too much. Okay, let me go back over here. So I'm going to go back and highlight again. Thanks again for letting me know that, because I did not see that on my end, and I appreciate that. Okay, so are you seeing now Library and Information Science Source, that screen? Okay, good. I see heads. That's wonderful. Thank you very much. So I had clicked on a link up here that said sign in, and I had signed into something called my EBSCOhost account. And the reason I did that is what I can do now, I'm going to go back and show you what I was working on. When I click on any of these little links for folders, I can create different folders in my EBSCOhost account that will correspond to different research projects. So you can see I actually have several going right now. So I can actually click on this. We'll click on this again, and I'm just going to save this to a general folder. And I'm going to do one more. So the reason I'm doing this, you can actually do this part on saving items to a folder. You can do this without an EBSCOhost account, but I encourage you to register for one. Because when I go up to the top of the screen and click on folder, these articles plus a couple of others that I had already saved, as you can see, are all now in a folder for information. These are now permanently saved in my EBSCOhost account until I actually go in and delete them. So it's a wonderful way, if you're pressed for time, you can do a search, make sure you're signed into your EBSCOhost account, save some articles as you go along, and then go back and take a look at them when you have a little bit more time to review them. It will also save any of the PDF full text links that are there. If you wanted to email these articles to yourself or to someone else, let's say if you're working with a team member, or if you're working within a group in a class, you can email articles back and forth. And if you were to do that, you can enter your own email address or somebody else's. And you can also say that you would want these references to be converted into citations corresponding with APA or the American Psychological Association. But the other reason you might want to, I'm going to go back here. There we go. And I'm going to go back one more time. There was another reason that I wanted to sign into my EBSCOhost account, because the other thing you can do with an EBSCOhost account is go into search history. And this is probably my favorite thing on the EBSCOhost account. See all that? Those are the searches that I did so far in Library and Information Science Source. If I wanted to save this search history of the one that really worked, the 58 results, when I narrowed that down, I can click on the box and say I want to save this search. And I could call this Public Libraries Programming. It's being saved in Library and Information Science Source. And I can save this as a permanent search until I decide that I want to delete it. So what in the world does that mean? It means that now, let's say I had to leave my search. I have to go to work or I need to go to class. I can come back, get into Library and Information Science Source, sign back into my EBSCOhost account, and I can rerun that saved search history. So it's all there, it's saved. I don't have to remember the terms that I used, the limits that I used, or anything like that. And if any new articles have been added in the time frame when I rerun that search, those new articles will pop up. So I do really encourage you, when you start getting into these databases such as Library and Information Science Source, sign up for a free EBSCOhost account. It really will make your life a lot easier. I do have one more source I want to show you, and then I definitely want to allow time for questions from both groups, because there's always different things that will pop up that I have forgotten to go over. So I'm going to go back over here to starting your research. And the last one I wanted to highlight is a new source that we have as of about the middle of last semester. It changed its name. It used to be called APA Style Central, and now the name is Academic Writer. And you can get to Academic Writer again here through the recommended library databases, or again, if you were in the Library and Information Science portion of our A to Z databases list, Academic Writer would be up there as well. And I really encourage you to make use of this resource. So Academic Writer is actually from the American Psychological Association. And I'm going to let this load. Okay. Is everyone seeing a screen now that says Welcome to Academic Writer? Okay, good. Yeah, thanks for nodding your heads. I really appreciate that, because I don't want to lose you again. So Academic Writer, as like I said, it's from the American Psychological Association. You're going to be writing your papers and doing your references in the APA citation style. Some of you may be very familiar with this. For others, this may be totally new. You may have used MLA or Chicago Manual Style or something else. This is really a wonderful hub of information for help on learning how to write within APA citation style, and then just as much as anything else, kind of a refresher on how to do citations and so forth. If you click up here on Welcome, you can create a free account with this as well. Make sure that I put in the correct password here. Ah, good. I do want it to save that one. Okay, so it takes just a few seconds to create a free account. Create a free account within Academic Writer as well, because it's kind of like creating an EBSCOhost account. If you create a free account in Academic Writer, this will give you access to these three centers: Learn, Reference, and Write. So under the Learn category, this is where you can watch videos or get very quick descriptions of how to do different things within APA style. And you notice this is an alphabetical list. For example, how do I do a reference to a book chapter? How would I do a reference to that in APA style? And we'll let that load. There we are. And this would actually come up with a quick video tutorial of how to do that. I'm going to go back over here though. And there's just a lot of different things that you can get into in here. If I go to sample references, this is actually where I can see specifically how to do more detailed APA citation style references, because sometimes we get into things such as, well, how do I do an APA citation for an audio podcast? If I click on that, there you go. That gives me the template that I can follow. So that is one of the hubs, Academic Writer. The Reference Hub, there it goes. It's kind of being a little bit slow here. The Reference Hub will actually let you upload references that you may have downloaded from different databases, and you can add references as well, like references to books, articles that would be in APA citation style, and those would integrate into this third hub I wanted to show you. We'll let that come up. So this third hub is called Write or the Writing Center. Depending on what you're comfortable with doing when it comes to APA style and particularly writing papers, the Writing Center offers a number of research paper templates that will help you just plug in your information, and then it will automatically format your paper into the appropriate way of doing that, such as a literature review paper, a methodological paper, and often I will just refer students to a basic paper. Okay. And I'm going to scroll back up here. Okay. Are you all still seeing the Academic Writer screen that says enter a paper title? Good. I was hoping that would still come up. So the great thing about this is I can put in the title of a paper that I'm writing, such as Public Library Programming, Issues and Next Steps. I'm just kind of making up something here. And I can click on Start Writing. And at this point, when I scroll back up here, there we are. The screen that you will see next looks very familiar. It just basically looks like a regular word processing program like Google Docs or Microsoft Word. And I can actually just start typing my paper here. I can preview it. It will actually automatically insert things like page numbers, a running head. It will help you construct your references list. And once you finish typing your paper, this is all saved, by the way, because it's already in my account. So everything is already saved in my account. And once you finish writing a paper, you can export that finished copy of the paper as a Microsoft Word document or a PDF document and then be ready to submit it. This is not the only way of writing papers, but I did want you to be aware of the fact that Academic Writer does exist. It's very easy to get to through our A to Z list of databases, or just right over here under the recommended library databases. And it can help answer some quick questions on how to do this type of searching. I also provided a tab here, or a page on our research guide, another link to Academic Writer, and some links to other help with APA, such as the APA Style blog, which can help you search by topic for how to do different references, frequently asked questions, and also a lot of you may have used the Online Writing Lab or OWL at Purdue site. I provided a link from the OWL at Purdue site here on your guide for the APA Formatting and Style Guide, so you can always go to that for just quick help in addition to Academic Writer. Finally, this last tab has a link to a lot of different video tutorials that I've done for SLIM classes over the years that will give you a quick overview of things such as using the Encyclopedia of Library and Information Sciences, how to use the Journals tab, how to use other databases such as Academic Search Complete, a quick introduction to the Discovery Service, which we covered very briefly. Just different ways, if you ever just want to watch a quick tutorial on a specific information need. I'm going to pause here. What questions have come up from both groups? And I know for the Colorado group, if you just chat, I can see your questions in chat, but just relay any other questions that you all might have at this point. Aha. Oh, very good question. So a question from the Colorado group, do alums maintain access? Unfortunately not. And that is something that we wish were not necessarily the case. You have access to, of course, any statewide databases that exist with any arrangements in Colorado and Utah. When it comes to these very specific databases like the encyclopedia or the Library and Information Science Source, unfortunately, the vendors of those databases have very specific contracts with academic libraries, and those contracts specify that the access can only be for those who are currently affiliated with Emporia State University. So faculty maintain access, staff maintain access, students do not maintain access after they graduate. That's something that I would love to negotiate or renegotiate. It's just one of those things right now that publishers tend to be pretty protective of their information. But if you ever needed like some consultations on searching for something after you would graduate, I'd be happy to work with you on that and maybe send you some information. If you wanted me to search for something for you, I could do that and then send you some citations and see if that would work with your information need. I'm sorry I don't have a better answer. Do papers get lost often in the academic writer space or ever? Academic Writer is a very new resource for us, but as far as I had seen so far, the papers should stay there in some type of repository because you are logged in under your account with Academic Writer. Now, having said that, it would probably be a really good idea once you export something. You can also go ahead and save your paper in another space like Google Drive or your own computer. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do that as a backup. But as long as you're working on your paper and it's in progress, it's still going to be there in Academic Writer, and you can always go back to it and then write some more whenever you have time. I should have noted too, you can actually collaborate with others on Academic Writers. So if you have somebody else that you're writing a paper with a group, if they all have Academic Writer accounts, you can actually do collaborations and then everyone can contribute to that paper as well. So good questions. Other questions out there?
I think we had one question here, Cynthia.
Oh, good.
So if they start working document work, easily upload that work to Academic Writer.
Brendan, can you relay that question to me?
Sure. I think the question was, can you directly upload a manuscript in the form of a Word document into Academic Writer?
That's a good question. I think so, but like I said, this is so new for us that I'm still learning about it. So I'm going to give a good librarian response, which is that I will do some research on that, and I will be happy to send that information back to Dr. Fay and Dr. Valenti so they can relay that back to you. I'll be happy to take a look at that.
Thanks very much.
So we have a question in chat. Why does library science use APA style? Well, Dr. Fay and Dr. Valenti are probably going to be able to give much better answers than me. I can tell you that APA, the American Psychological Association, has very much become the standard citation style for social sciences, education, and behavioral sciences. As a matter of fact, we're finding in different disciplines at Emporia State that we have fewer and fewer disciplines, mainly some of the humanities such as English, that are using MLA. Now, having said that, I have noticed that there are a variety of journals. If you're writing a journal article for publication, that might request you to use either APA or Chicago Manual of Style, or a modified version of Chicago. I've written different articles in which I've used APA, and sometimes I've been asked to use a modified version as well. So one thing that APA style does is it very much focuses upon using bias-free language, basically avoiding bias when you're writing an article or writing a paper. The other thing that it does, though, is when you're doing a citation in APA style, you know that you use only the first initials of authors because we're avoiding any bias in terms of potential gender or anything like that. And then the next part in an APA citation is the year in parentheses. One reason for that is the emphasis is upon, as much as anything else, when that specific article or that specific item was published. So we're looking more on almost currency of information, whereas in the humanities with MLA, they tend to be less concerned about the currency of the information and more on, is this still a valid source of information in the humanities might be actually something that's quite a few years old. So there's going to be a little bit of a less emphasis upon years. So that's actually what I've observed with APA. I suspect that's probably why library and information sciences moved to APA. But like I said, I suspect that Dr. Valenti and Dr. Fay could answer that better than I. These are great questions.
Well, let us thank you here. Since I think our class, you really covered all the terrain for our class's purposes. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you. And again, you've got my information there. Please contact me or email me if you have any difficulties, and I'll be happy to help you.
Great. Thank you very much. Thanks, Cynthia.
You're welcome. Oh, there's one more question here. If you do need to ILL, why not just go to your local library? You can do that as well, absolutely. And it may actually be faster for you to go to your local library to do interlibrary loan. We want to emphasize the fact that you actually have access to interlibrary loan, and particularly document delivery, also through Emporia State University, because you are an Emporia State University student. And are there any other questions from the Colorado group? I want to make sure that I'm hitting everything as well. You are so welcome. Take care, and you all have a wonderful rest of the day as well. And like I said to the Utah group, don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions whatsoever. Take care. Bye-bye.